And now, the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we're back for another one. And so the episode we are talking about is 332, Another Chance. So this is an episode written by Phil Lawler, directed by Paul McCusker. A nice tag team thing going on there. Mm-hmm. It's track 10 on Darkness Before Dawn. I don't know why I keep bringing that up because it feels like the most irrelevant info, but like normally we're not just hitting a full album straight. Mm-hmm. So talking about the track number and when it aired makes sense. Not as much here.
No.
Though this episode, I should point out, did air September 23rd of 1995, which is a week after the last one and a week before the next one.
They're consistent, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, much like our podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's not a joke.
No, not really.
No. Even in inconsistency, we're out here.
Yep. And lastly, the cast, in addition to our normal people, we have Will Ryan and Kurt Morse playing news people. Mm-hmm. Kurt Morse plays Kurt Morse, which is really weird.
Yeah.
But we've talked about that before, and Will Ryan is playing Gene Pryor.
So, without further ado, is it promo time?
You know what, Andrew? I think it's promo time.
It's promo time.
Promo time!
You know it's time for desperate measures when Rodney Rathbone's involved. Next time on Adventures in Odyssey, the gang from Wits End believes that a laptop computer and the Underground Railroad tunnel may hold the keys to defeating Blackgaard. The only problem is, he's got control of both. But former enemies may help save the day. All on the next Adventure in Odyssey.
I think that one's a winner.
Yeah, that was good. However, if they make it sound like it was the gang at Wits End's idea to steal the laptop when it was really Rodney's. That was the one thing that I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, but they do a good job of not, like, they're like, enemies will become friends, and or like former enemies, and so it's like, it's obviously Maxwell, but then also Rodney, which is a nice thing that they don't give it away. And and the promo doesn't start with like, Rodney Rathbone's helping out the team at Wits End.
Yeah.
Stranger things have never happened. It's like, oh my word.
Yeah.
So you know, it could be worse.
Could be worse. And we just heard it. It was worse.
No, it was better.
No. What
I said was worse. Sure. Absolutely. So the episode starts off then with like very like jaunty newscaster audio, and we music rather, with Chris doing the "and now Adventures in Odyssey" over top of it. And then we get Kurt
Morse.
Yeah, Kurt Morse, played by Kurt Morse. Channel 10 News.
Yes.
I was really disappointed. The AIO wiki, in some in a weird moment of oversight, doesn't have a page that breaks down all of the different news outlets in Odyssey.
Huh.
Which is such a bummer. Because, like, they've got the page that's, like, all of the hotels at Odyssey.
Yeah.
And I feel like the news places are way more important.
Is much more
relevant.
relevant.
Like, I don't know if Channel 10 is audio or video. Like, I don't know if it's a radio show or a TV show. And I don't know if this is, if this is where Link Wainwright works or...
I always assumed that it was TV, but I realize now that is probably completely unfounded.
Right.
Do we have any reason to believe that it's...
Crying Brian Dern is radio.
Yeah. Do they have a TV in Wits End?
Probably not. Wit doesn't have one in his house.
Yeah, so it's probably radio, because they listen to it.
Right, but I don't know if, but do they listen to Channel 10 specifically? That's the thing. How many stations are there?
Lee.
And is there any continuity with that?
Lee.
There are other AIO wiki editors.
I just don't know them by
name. So Kurt Morse was previously in Tom for Mayor as the news broadcaster in those episodes.
Yeah.
And So he's given his little opening narration with a incredibly just like oof line.
Yeah.
Which is the complete closure and quarantine of Wits End. And I was like, well, bad time to be making that reference.
Yeah. The Q word.
But, like, that's one of those things where I'm like, the rest of my life, this is going to be sticking out to me.
Yep. No, pretty much, yeah. Like, I'm glad that you feel the same way, because every time I hear that word, or, like, because I used to think about quarantine a lot in respect to, like, the hospital, where, like, there's closed stuff like that, but, like, quarantine now to me means, like, the entirety of society.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we get, like, Glossman kind of smearing, like, Wits End for letting people... Smearing. Like a bagel.
Smearing.
Wits End for letting kids play there and stuff like that. And it's a lot of...
Yeah, he is really digging in.
Yeah.
At Wit and at Tom and at all the... Yeah.
I mean, he is in politics, and I guess that they're allowed to just kind of switch from giving facts to giving their opinions, right?
Well... They do
Shouldn't. It. Yeah. Should they? No. Do they? Yes.
Yeah. Kurt Morris jumps back in to be like, the citizens of Odyssey are confused and angry about the closure. And it's like, interesting combination, but okay. Sure.
Why would they be confused? I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, I feel like the reasoning straight up, like, we don't know what's going on. It's potentially dangerous. I guess they're confused in the same way that anybody else would be, with that nobody's gotten sick, so
yeah,
that would be it.
But right. This, yeah. Unlike Tom's apples, where like people went to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing in the dirt that screams like, this is a problem.
It glows up at night.
Not that doesn't mean it couldn't be a problem.
It could be.
Absolutely. In this case, it is not.
Yeah.
But in the real world, like,
yeah.
To get back on my horse about trusting scientists.
We should do that. Yeah. Let's just trust the people with college degrees regarding what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They have one job and lots of student debt. You just go ahead and believe them.
And then we jump to Tom's like press conference, essentially, where a person who is not Harlow Doyle yells that they should have tested the soil years ago.
Yeah. Can we confirm that it's not Harlow Doyle?
He is credited on the wiki as Man in the Crowd.
Dang it.
Much like Boys in the Sink. Man in the Crowd. But and then another, I think the woman yells, "You don't care about our children."
Yep.
And then we jump to yet another press conference, and this time it's Blackgaard being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna, return Odyssey to its former glory," and then he faints.
Yeah.
And
is the shirt up? Did you make the shirt?
The shirt. Oh yeah. That I'll put it in the description of this episode as well. But yes, you can buy a Return Odyssey to its former glory shirt, and one person already did. If you're that person, when it arrives, we expect pictures.
Please. You don't. If you're worried about anonymity, you can blur out your face.
Well, I don't need you wearing it. I mean, that would be a nice bonus, but also I'm willing to just see like the shirt sitting on a couch.
Should I? No, I don't have money for Chalk Squad merch.
Yeah.
So Blackgaard is talking about like making Odyssey great, and like none of this is gonna happen again. Like, vote for me. And then he's like, "Oh, I don't feel so well." And then he gets faint and falls off the stage, or almost falls off the stage.
Almost falls off the stage.
And then he sits down, and then
yep.
It's released later that he's like, "Oh, he's fine. He just hadn't drank all day, and he hadn't eaten or drank all day, and he'd been on his feet." So
yep,
classic low blood suggy.
Yeah, that's what's released to the press. We later find out
it's a sham.
A sham.
A sham. Wow. So he has his own headquarters. So that's where we find out that Blackgaard's not actually sick, or that he's just...
dude, you are jumping ahead. What happened to your well-organized notes with all the scene changes, Andrew?
No, this is the same scene, because this is when he's fine. Like, this is what Kurt Morris is saying. He's like, according to Blackgaard's headquarters or whatever. That's why I made the note.
Oh, okay.
So it's still
according to his headquarters, just being like his campaign. That is interesting because we don't really know who's running the Blackgaard campaign.
Yeah.
It seems like it's Glossman, but it literally cannot be Glossman.
Yeah.
And it's not Jellyfish.
Nope.
And it's not Professor Bovril.
Nope.
And those seem to be the only options.
Yeah, he must be running it himself, I guess. I mean, he's very smart.
I don't know. Well, and it's not like, and I assume this is for budget reasons, but it's not like we have Bernard in there as Tom's rep right now. Mm-hmm. Like, they're both kind of just running one-man shows.
Yeah. Maybe that's the nature of recall elections, because they're so fast, they're kind of more casual. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Me neither.
Know nothing about politics.
So, then the newscast cuts to more vandalism.
This is with Channel 10 correspondent Gene Pryor.
With the Electric Palace getting hit. They broke windows, they smashed merchandise, stuff like that, and then they get Bart Rathbun on the line for an interview.
Yeah. Well, and listening to this for a second time,
yeah.
I was like, Gene Pryor also has a bit of a Harlow thing going.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Like
we are
one of the
Harlow.
fun things from doing this show has been getting really good at picking out Odyssey voice actors.
Yes.
To where, like, when I'm taking my notes, I won't look at the episode list because I'm like, well, maybe I'll pull it out on my own, and usually I do.
Wow, that's very impressive. I'm terrible with names. I just know I can just recognize them now.
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah. And so, this is Bart being interviewed after the Electric Palace was hit by the Vandals, and he's like, those kids in the cloaks did it.
Mm-hmm. And, like, the Bible costumes, like, I saw it there, and yada, 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 and he's like, and then the reporter's like, well, do you have anything else to add? And he was like, oh, no, I suppose I don't, except for, come down tomorrow for the slightly damaged merchandise sale at the Electric Palace.
Yeah, slightly damaged merchandise sale is great.
It's so funny.
The Gene Pryor, during this interview, Will Ryan as the actor, but just nails the exasperation of just basically that thing of like, all right, do you have anything else? And Bart's like, nope, I don't. And he's like, all right, I'm getting out of this. We succeeded. And then Bart goes in there, he's just like,
yeah, you expect some yokel banjo to start playing back. Come on down to the Electric Palace. Bring money, lots of money. Bring the wife, bring the kids.
Spatula City. We didn't get any tweets about that. Rough.
Okay.
And so, what? Then, right. We come out from the TV/radio to Bart and Rodney, and Rodney is pissed off about the fact that the Bones trashed the palace.
Yeah, thing of note, he never calls Bart Pop in this scene, which I was...
Wow, that is important.
Both times I listened through it, I was expecting for it and listening for it, and the second time I thought, I must have just missed it the first time. But nope, no Pop bit.
No Pop.
No Pop.
Don't call him Pop.
He's learning. I mean, this is a big Rodney episode. Maybe that's a part of it.
Yeah, it is. It's just like this perfect exemplification of the the fact that Rodney feels like he has completely lost control of this gang.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, so he comes in and is super mad about it. He's like, they've gone too far. And he's like, well, and his dad's like, well, there's things going on that you don't know about, because you just don't need to know. And he's like, well, this is too far. Like, this is my gang. Like, I wasn't even in on it. Like, this is not cool.
Yeah.
And so he basically storms out. Bart's like trying to get him to calm down and be like, no, this is a part of the plan. This is whatever.
Yeah. And then our next scene is Richard Maxwell showing up at Whit's house.
Yep. And having a little conversation with Jason.
Yeah.
And
Jason's now living there because Whit's End they've been kicked out of.
Yeah.
So he and Jack are sharing the house. But Jack hasn't been around much, and when he is, they don't really talk about anything relevant. But he's currently up at Trickle Lake praying.
Okay. Can we talk about Jack real quick?
Yeah.
Can I just step up on ye old soapbox and be like...
Soapbox on Jack. He is not in this episode to defend himself.
Exactly. I am so mad that he has just rolled over and played dead. And I get that he's not. I get that he's doing the wit thing where he's kind of withdrawing and praying. And that's important. But I think that if he has the relationship with Jason that I know that he does, he should put his foot down and try and have constructive conversation with Jason regarding the way that he's handling it, why he's handling it that way, and why they see things differently, and where God plays into all that. Like, I understand that he kind of pulled out because he knew he couldn't change his mind, but enough time has passed here that I would really, really, really love to get Jack talking to Jason, giving him a heart-to-heart and being like, listen, Jason, you're handling this like you're a secret agent, and you aren't anymore. And you're in Odyssey, and you're not handling this how your dad would handle it. And I'm not saying that I am either, but I am saying that we need to be careful and we need to operate with the guidance of the Spirit. And it does not seem that that is on your radar currently, you know?
Yeah, and so the thing I'm on, because I am 100% in agreement with you.
Okay.
The thing I'm curious about is whether it is bad writing or really, really good writing.
Yeah, I can't quite tell if Jack's trying to give him enough rope to hang himself, that sort of thing.
So I genuinely think from what we've seen of Jack's character and how he is not wit, part of his character is that he avoids confrontation.
Yeah.
That he is not a fighter, that he will retreat into himself and do those things to his own detriment and to the detriment of those around him. Mm-hmm. So what I am hoping is that that the show is aware that this is a flawed move for him as a character.
Yeah.
And it's not just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
But it's driving home a point. And so we'll see how that plays out over the next couple episodes, but like that's kind of my 2 cents is that Jack he is a frustrating character and he is being frustrating in here, but he is being true to how he is written, rather than them saying like this is the correct path to have taken.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. And I'm hoping that it turns around where Jack comes back and gets involved and there's a little bit of a kind of come to Jesus moment for both him and Jason. Like I would really like that.
They're both at bad ends of this.
Yeah.
But where wit would take a more active role in reining in Jason or Eugene or whomever, Jack doesn't feel comfortable taking that role, and so he's just kind of piecing out and still doing how he feels like he needs to contribute this through just an immense amount of prayer and dodging the conversations.
Yeah, and like that's something that I respect. Like I really respect, as I've mentioned on the show before, like prayer warriors and all that. Like I think that that's very important. I just think that especially if we're going to make it personal and making it relevant to right now, I think that the church needs to not avoid uncomfortable confrontation regarding differences of opinion. I think that there needs to be a sort of sit down and just be like, well, listen, this is really who's in charge of us, and it's not the government, you know? And this is what I think that he thinks about this, and I think that even if you don't agree with me, I hope that you can see that his opinion, and by his I mean God, is important and should be a part of your decision making. You know? And so, like, especially just, that was my thing. Hearing this, I was just like, God, you just can't just shut up. You can't just shut up and walk away and pray. Like there's times when you shouldn't, and most of the time you really shouldn't. But I think especially if this was Jack's circumstance, I think that the correct course of action would be to have some sort of confrontation. But like you said, that's his character, is that he avoids confrontation. So
yeah, hopefully
his prayer will lead him to that.
Yeah,
and I genuinely don't know. I don't remember. So I'm just gonna put the soapbox away momentarily as we move on. So then Eugene comes in, right?
Well, we didn't even talk about why Maxwell is here.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Let's go back to that.
I mean, it's pretty basic, but like Maxwell shows up to try and track down Jellyfish. Because he's like, this is the guy who's like doing the thing, and so like if we can connect him to all this, like that's our case.
Yeah.
And then Eugene shows up, or like I guess like I don't. He's working at that house as well. And comes over and is like, talking about he's got the floppy disks from the Imagination Station. The data's been scrambled on him, and then
can you imagine how many floppy disks it would take to run the Imagination Station?
Yeah.
I mean, blows my mind.
Well, so the Imagination Station, I assume, is run on hard drives at this point.
Yeah.
And there are floppy disks are just your flash drive of the day. But still,
video files on flash drives or not even on flash drives, but on floppy disks is rough.
Yeah, well, on hard drives of that era as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagination Station is insane. It's like I think because we're not that far off from like really good VR currently, we can sometimes forget that this is the 90s.
Yeah, and they didn't really
like and like what they are pulling off, like what the tech Wit is pulling off is stuff that feels like, oh yeah, like maybe in another 20 years, but they were doing this like 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. With the tech of the day, like yeah,
it's great. And so Maxwell's like, oh yeah, I can. Do you mind if I have a look? And Eugene's like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot that you were a computer guy, and I was like, oh yeah, me too. And so yeah, it's such a similar to how we talked about when Maxwell saves Lucy. It's really nice here with Eugene to just kind of be like, yeah, sure, Maxwell, like come give me. Yeah. Come give me a hand with that. Like we've gotten past our strife. Yeah. And yeah.
No, it's great. It's a good moment. This is a really good, like, Maxwell's arc is really, really good, and this is a part of it. And we'll talk about it when Tom comes in, and I love it.
It is really complicated to talk about though, because
are his motives entirely pure?
I don't even care about his motives.
No, yeah.
It is a thing of like, should we continue to overlook the way Maxwell has acted in the past?
Yeah.
Because he is currently doing good, and that is a hard thing to game out in any situation.
Yeah.
Like, I do believe that he has changed. But like, that doesn't mean like
I certainly wouldn't blindly trust him. I wouldn't
blindly trust him, but like there's also like I would not hire Maxwell to work at Wit's End.
No,
because like I do not trust him around that equipment and children.
No.
But like,
does him working on the Imagination Station right now serve a purpose, and it's with supervision, so there's certain parameters in place where whatever little trust you have for him can...
And like, yeah, the thing is, like, the show has gotten me to a point of trusting him, and like, I think because essentially all of our characters have fallen into one of two camps, which is, all right, Maxwell's done his time and we're fully ready to embrace him as a decent person, or this man is still Satan.
Yeah.
Where
And
I think
in the middle.
I think the middle road needs to be the stance of look, we have to, right, this guy was, in addition to arson, so...
2 accounts of arson, right? He burned down Blackgaard's castle and Tom's barn, right?
Completely throwing aside the arson, because also, he damaged property under Blackgaard's, thing, and he did his time for that, and I can genuinely feel we can move on from that. The thing I really struggle with is how emotionally manipulative he was, especially all of the stuff with Lucy is just really, really tough, and we talked about it at the time, but he is an adult taking advantage of a child and manipulating her to his own ends. And even if he feels bad about that now, I don't think that he gets to just
be normal.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's that's where my struggle with Maxwell is in the context, in the way the show is treating it, I am yes, I have no issues with what Maxwell has done, but even the previous episode, and I guess we didn't really talk about this then, but Maxwell saving Lucy is a nice scene of him saving Lucy, but she is also more affectionate towards him than I am comfortable with.
Yeah.
Of well,
and also his intention was more so to take down Jellyfish than was to save her.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I believe that Maxwell is not in that moment trying to get back in with Lucy. I don't think that is his intention at all, but I also feel we need to maybe treat it with a little bit more severity.
Oh yeah, I trust him 100% to do the best thing for his own interest.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to do what's best for his own interest, but I also think he's not right. He's now in a position of he isn't going to hurt the good guys.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he's in the clear.
Well, especially because he's gonna help the good guys, gives him access to a lot of sensitive stuff and information. Especially, maybe just with the Imagination Station specifically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
so all that to say, Eugene is happy to have him take a look, and it is a nice interaction. Yeah. I truly do because it is a kids show, and I am really big on redemption. I am okay with the way Odyssey is framing this.
Yeah.
They're doing it in a pretty binary fashion. And I can be okay with that in the context of the show, but I don't want to just talk about it as though I am okay with this occurring in real life.
Yeah, no. There's definitely
Yeah, I don't think...
I think it works well for the situation that are given, but I think the more general implications made by these specific instances are cause for concern in certain respects.
And I don't necessarily even think it is teaching a bad lesson. I think the lesson of forgiveness is probably worth the slight murkiness of the whole situation being kind of shoved under a rug. Even more so when you realize that the episodes in which Maxwell was a villain were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But I do just want to point out the fact that in the real world, I am still uncomfortable with Maxwell as a person, and I don't think that like us forgiving him means that we should overlook his past.
Well, yeah. So and that would be
like I want to judge him by his current actions, but I also want to be responsible.
I think, and I don't know if this is something I've talked about on the show before, but the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. So you can forgive somebody in the sense that, like, okay, I recognize that you recognize that what you did was bad, and I can forgive you for that and not hold that against you. But the difference is reconciliation is allowing yourself to get close to them and also being vulnerable to them hurting you again. So you can forgive somebody that you will never talk to again, but you can't really be reconciled with them if there's no vulnerability. And I would say that the correct course of action is to forgive Maxwell. You know, obviously he's done his time, like you said, but the reconciliation process is a lot more complicated and involved, and I think it's smart to not be there yet.
Right. And like going back to the Lucy thing, because it is the hardest part about Maxwell. The fact that when Maxwell like has the conversation with her to apologize, both her parents and Whit are like very in the loop on that.
Yeah.
Is so important.
Yeah.
But then like we jump forward to like last week's episode and it's like, okay, and then he saves the day and saves her, and we're not really going to get into the greater implications of that because it is like a plot thing.
Yeah.
But and it works nicely, but there is still that level of unease that I have of like, I don't really like the two of them interacting in this unsupervised way, especially when she was in such a vulnerable position moments before.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All that being said,
we then leave the scene.
this like 30-second scene. It's not long.
Right? It's so brief, but like I have strong feelings about Maxwell.
Yeah, and I have strong feelings about Jack. So
yes, yep, we both got our soapboxes.
Yeah. So then we get what, Jellyfish and Rusty, right?
Yeah.
And we get basically Rusty walking in on Jellyfish working on it, and he's like, hey!
What is this? A diary? I thought diaries were for girls. You thought? Did I just hear you thought, Rusty?
Well, call the newspapers. You thought? Haha. He thought. Wow. 1, that's not your first time using that joke, Jellyfish. So, get over yourself. 2, anybody can write in a diary. Also, if you want to feel better about yourself, call it a journal. That's a more...
But...
Diaries are not just for girls. Diaries are not just for girls.
I was like, Andrew, stop perpetuating this.
I will not.
But also, like, the path that Rusty takes with no pauses of like, he sees Jellyfish typing on a computer and he goes, what is this? A diary? I thought diaries were for girls. It's like, buddy, ask the question, what is this? If he says a diary, then maybe you can say, you can make that point. And it's still a bad point.
Yeah.
But.
No, what we're missing is, hey, a laptop computer. Or no, hey, is that a laptop? And he's like, yeah, what was your first clue?
Laptop computer. Even Chris in the wrap-up says laptop computer because it is the 90s and laptops are not a good enough word that you have to also put the computer caveat.
Yep.
But yes, and then yes, right. Jellyfish makes the stupid...
on my lap?
Yeah.
Which Jellyfish impression sounds an awful lot like Patrick Star.
Also, people who use their laptops on their laps, what are you doing?
I only do it when I cannot do it anywhere else.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's a last resort. But there's
got to be a table somewhere.
Right.
And also, why are you writing it down now?
Right. Anyways, so yes. So he reveals that he's got this like...
Cover your bases.
Right. So his whole thing is, I've got this computer as an insurance policy, if things go poorly, I've been taking notes on everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And then Rodney busts in.
Yep. Yeah, and he's super ticked off at Jellyfish. And does he beat up Jellyfish? Because it sounds like Rodney lands a lot of punches on Jellyfish.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they both land some punches, but there is a brawl, and the bones break it up.
Yeah.
And Rodney, then there's like a word off, and Rodney is like, his voice is like, well done, Steve Burns.
Yeah.
Rodney is falling apart.
Yeah.
His voice is cracking. He is in tears.
Trying to mutiny. He's trying to mutiny. He's trying to get the bones to turn against Jellyfish, and he's like, let's get the gang back together and make it how things were.
Right.
And...
Everybody get on my side.
Yeah.
Stand up to this phony, and no one moves.
Yep.
And he's like, Rusty?
Anybody? Rusty?
And no,
please.
And Jellyfish is like, oh, come on, man, keep yourself together, have some dignity. And he just completely
he goes, please, anybody. And Jellyfish is like, or don't.
Yeah, Jellyfish is good at quipping.
Yeah,
but,
and so then basically what? Rodney gets kicked out of his own gang.
Right.
That's
Jellyfish says, okay, then leave. But he's like, you're kicking me out. And he's like, no, I'm telling you to go home. In fact, all of you go home.
Yeah.
Our time's done for now.
Yeah.
And then on their way out, Rusty stops Rodney, and he's like, oh, man, like, I wanted to stand up for you, but the other guys weren't going to have it. And, I didn't do it because I suck. And but I've got a way to make it up.
Laptop sabotage.
Laptop computer
with secrets. So they're gonna get their plan is to get the laptop to put all the blame on Jellyfish and to put the blame where it belongs. And then we go to what? Eugene and Maxwell and Jason, right?
Yeah, and so Maxwell and Eugene are kind of explaining to Jason they were able to, figure out some of the unscramble some of the code.
Silent one.
Yes, and they find out that the mineral was referred to as the Silent One, but they did not get what its proper name was.
And then Jason's like, I've heard this before.
Yeah, he thinks it sounds familiar.
The Silent One, see?
Yeah, and
I think that's where covering all these episodes back to back like this kind of loses some of its power, in the sense that information that the characters don't immediately recall, we recall much faster.
The phrase "the Silent One" hasn't actually been used, though, has it?
Wasn't it used in the Ruku virus stuff?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's just me remembering?
I think you're remembering the future. I don't think the Silent One has been a phrase thrown around before, other than we kind of heard it garbled in the previous episode.
No.
But
that wasn't referred to in the name not a number bit?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Feel free to tweet at us, Chalk Squad. But yeah.
And then so Maxwell then leaves, right?
No, well, Maxwell tries to leave.
Yep.
And Tom Riley shows up. Mayor Tom Riley.
Yep. Well, for now, Mayor Tom Riley. And Tom's the worst. And let's talk about this, because I think I'm very happy with the way that Tom talks about this.
Yes.
So basically,
no, it's really good.
Tom's fine. He walks in, sees Maxwell, and is obviously super ticked off about him.
Right.
And then Maxwell leaves, and then Tom's like, I don't know why you guys trust him. He does all this stuff, and Jason's kind of like, well, we don't really have a huge reason not to at this point.
The quote is actually, maybe his motives are wrong, but you should cut him some slack, which I think is fantastic.
Well, and I think that's exactly the situation.
Right. If Waylaid in the Windy City is anything, to go by, his motives are wrong.
Exactly.
But he's this time he's on the side of the angels.
Yeah. And we get this really great kind of Jason talking with Tom and Tom being like, I get that and I want to forgive him, but every time I think about him, I just think about my barn and my horses and all of it, and I just have so much anger towards him. And
he specifically says, like, he's got too much anger in his heart.
Yes.
Which I was like,
so
oof.
good. Well, and that's the thing, where it's like, so when it, like, I think something about the gospel that I think doesn't get enough credit is the significance of forgiveness in our lives today. So, like, yes, Jesus forgave us for our sins, died on the cross, all that good stuff. I mean, I don't want to gloss over that. That's very important. But you know what I mean.
Right.
But harboring unforgiveness in our hearts as Christians is inherently not Christ-like.
Right.
And the thing is, it's so much easier to harbor unforgiveness, especially when it's somebody that maybe you can try and forget about, that you don't have to see all the time, things like that. The more that you kind of let that go, the more it begins to kind of eat you up. And unforgiveness, if you don't forgive yourself for making mistakes, or if you don't forgive other people for making mistakes. And that's kind of where I'm glad that I talked about the reconciliation, where it's like, I don't think that Tom necessarily really needs to reconcile with Maxwell right now. I think that he does need to forgive him and accept the fact that, well, regardless of whose side he's actually on, he's working with us, and therefore I should at least be civil.
But, like, I love, as much as, like, Tom's actions are frustrating to a listener, I love that Odyssey is grappling with this.
Yeah, they're not making him, like, they let his actions make him a bad person, but they're giving emotional depth behind it.
Right, because it's not him being like, oh, like, he sucks, we all know he sucks, like, you guys Tom's going like, I know I need to forgive him, but I can't. Mm-hmm. And, like, that is so real, and that, like, that sort of admission of, like, of fault and of, of flaw is so absent from a lot of modern Christianity, especially from, like, leaders and whatnot. But, like, it's really hard to say that you are wrong for anybody. Yeah. And in the church, it's become such a taboo to the point where, like, you've always got to feel like you've got it all together.
Yeah.
And so I love that Tom is aware that, like, the way he is acting is not Christ-like, but he can't get there currently. I think that's so important to see.
Yeah, it's super important
because so many times this would either be he just gets over it, or he would be like, no, I don't need to forgive him. This person does not deserve forgiveness. I'm just going to hate him. And then Maxwell would, like, save his life, and he'd be like, okay, now we're even. But that's not what Tom's doing here. He's going, I know that I am called to forgive this man, but I can't get there. And that really pains me.
Oh, yeah, no, it's so painful, and it's also incredibly relatable. I mean, I've been in that situation so many times in my life where it's just like, I know that having unforgiveness in my heart towards this person hurts me way more than they ever hurt me in the first place. And the only way that I'm going to forgive this person, or people, is to see them how God sees them, and just understand that, you know, mercy covers a multitude of sins and things like that, and just being like, okay, so Maxwell hurt me because he's hurting, because people hurt him, because he was lost, because, you know, like, I would say that even if there wasn't a direct act of aggression towards Maxwell that led him to do the horrible things that he did, I would argue that there is a baseline amount of hurt that anybody that does not embrace the hope of Jesus Christ has. you know?
Yeah.
And that's not a you know, you can't be happy if you're not a Christian, but I'm saying that, like, for me, it baffles me how, you know, secular people can get along with one another, because what do you have that's bringing you together? What do you have that's drawing you to reconcile, to forgive, to look out for their interests and not just your own, you know? Like, I think there's a base level of humanity that, if you're a good person, but I would argue that would stem from creation.
Well, yes, but right, I think there are plenty of non-church going people who find unity in just my fellow humans and doing things for the greater good, or for
and I would say that would be the beauty of the church, because the church doesn't always do what the church is supposed to do. Sometimes the secular community does what the church is supposed to do. And
preach.
And I would argue that this you know, that would be an instance of it.
Yeah.
Anywho,
yeah, but no, dude, good conversation though.
Yeah. Like I said, I have opinions.
Yeah, dude, me too. We should do a podcast.
Yeah.
And
a weird name with all capital letters. We'll figure it out later. Anyway,
we
get Maxwell and Rodney, right?
Yeah, Rodney inexplicably just finds Maxwell walking around.
Yeah.
Whatever. We don't
woods,
care.
Maybe. I don't know.
And is like, hey, you know computers, right?
Yeah.
Which is so funny, because we just reestablished that Maxwell knows computers, and immediately Rodney is like, hey, you know computers. I was like, has Rodney ever even interacted with Maxwell before?
No.
Like, Rodney wasn't really a thing in the original.
No.
In the first.
Yeah, no. When Maxwell
parts.
was a thing, no. The only way that he would know that Maxwell was good at computers is from hearing Aftermath. Like, maybe if he heard about the stuff that working at the college with Eugene, maybe that would be.
Yes. He might have just heard.
God,
we
covered that episode. That feels like an eternity ago.
I mean, dude, it kind of was.
I mean, that was pre-quarantine, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was like the episode with him and Eugene. I think is the first one we cover from Blackgaard. So that was like January.
Wow.
Because we started this with the new year.
Yeah, we did. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Anyways, but yeah. So Rodney heard through the grapevine, because it's Odyssey and everybody knows each other. That Maxwell understands computers, and he's like, "You want to get back at Jellyfish? I want to get back at Jellyfish. So I'm gonna take you to this computer. But you gotta remove my name from all the info." And Maxwell, being morally compromised and vindictive, is like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect. That seems like a deal that I would take.
Honestly, yeah, I would take the deal in Maxwell's situation.
Right. No, and it's the sort of thing that it's the exact same thing, like, if there's any mentions of him on that, he's also going to remove. It's exactly the play that Maxwell makes, which I think is fun.
Yeah.
That Rodney gets to make it here.
So yeah, so basically they're trying to they're trying to flip him up from the inside out.
Yeah, well, so Rodney's like, I'll take you to their headquarters.
Yeah,
it's in the place you'd least expect. Cut to commercial. Cut back. We're at Wit's End.
Exactly. What do you mean? It seems strange that they would just do that. Why did they need the building? Why did they need the grounds? So, yeah, so we get that, and then we kind of overhear Blackgaard talking about...
Yeah, so Rodney, bolts immediately.
Yeah.
But Maxwell's there now.
Yeah.
Well, no, there is a slight conversation because they start talking. Bovril is running out of hard drive space.
Yes.
And Blackgaard's like, oh, we'll just use the computer I gave Jellyfish. Jellyfish, go get your computer. And he's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And Blackgaard's like, well, we'll just copy all your files off onto floppy disks, and then we can link yours up using infrared, which is a real thing. And
I questioned that in my notes. I was like, is that a thing?
It is. It requires direct line of sight. So it's
incredibly impractical.
Right. Well, so we replaced it with Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And wireless frequency for like wireless mouse and that sort of thing.
Cloud.
But well, sure.
I mean, as far as file sharing is concerned.
Yeah, but for transfer from one computer to the other,
yeah.
you could do it over infrared, which is so cool. And I love the acknowledgement of that technology.
Fan service. Not really.
I mean,
it's service for you specifically as a fan.
Yes. And so yeah, they're gonna do this, and Bovril is and Jellyfish is very like on edge about this whole thing for obvious reasons, and Rodney's like, Maxwell, this isn't gonna work, and he's like, get out of here, Rodney, I'm going to create a diversion.
Yeah.
And then he like crashes through a wall.
Yeah, basically. It sounds like he punches through a window or something. Like, it sounds like breaking glass.
Yeah. They got in through the service entrance at Wits End, which Rodney knows because he has, quote, crawled all over the place, as evidenced by the time he fell through the skylight.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I was like, you literally did crawl all over this place.
Was that before this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I looked it up.
Okay, you did. Okay, I believe you.
Because I did this exact same thing. I was like, I wonder if that's before this. And then I looked it up and I was like, all right, it is.
It's
like
on
30 episodes before it or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways.
Maxwell is basically just Bugs Bunny. I would like to say that. His dialogue with Blackgaard is like, hey, what's up, Doc?
Well, he does basically like a hiya, Doc.
Yeah, that's what he does. And he's super like smug and glib and other words that mean the same thing as smug and glib.
And are 4 letters in one syllable.
Yeah.
And so yeah, then they're like Blackgaard's like, Jellyfish, grab Maxwell, and he's like, and he's like, what? Are you afraid that I have my stun gun? Yeah. Well, I don't.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for giving that away.
Well, I've got mine, and stuns him, presumably with his cane.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely
the cane that is in the artwork for the album, but I don't think is ever actually referenced. No. At least not at this point.
It definitely doesn't sound like he uses a cane.
It's a stun cane.
Yeah, it's a stun cane.
Like
the blow dart cane in the case of the secret room. I thought that already. There you go.
You are my hero, Andrew.
Pound it.
We should do a podcast.
We should.
And so it's then he's like, Blackgaard's like, Jellyfish, Glossman, go take Maxwell somewhere. And Glossman's like, well, actually, I shouldn't be seen with Jellyfish. And for once, Blackgaard's like, yeah, okay, fair. Bovril!
Yeah, you go.
I like that Blackgaard's running this whole operation with 3 people.
Yes. This taking over an entire town with Glossman, Jellyfish, and Professor Man.
Right, like he's got a scientist, a thug, and a politician.
Yes, and I suppose that's all you need. Like, what can't you do with those 3?
I don't know, Andrew.
Anywho.
Yeah, so then Blackgaard's like, hey, Glossman, like, we're gonna go back to the Harlequin, because I know that's secure.
Yeah.
And, like, Rodney, well, actually, he doesn't know Rodney broke in, but, like, Maxwell can't just get in.
Yeah.
And then we
the car scene, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Maxwell's in the car with Bovril and Glossman? Yep.
No, Bovril and Jellyfish. They're sitting in the front seat. Maxwell's in the back.
Unconscious, and then he wakes up.
Yep.
And then they're like, you came down for your nap. It doesn't feel so good to be on the other side. All that. Yeah.
It's like, well, next time you throw someone in the back of the car, you should remember to lock the door! And he opens up the door and throws himself off, and he's like, and
presumably falls off a cliff.
Well, yeah, so Jellyfish is like, he went down the embankment, and Bovril's like, embankment? That's more of a cliff, because it's an audio show and we can't actually see it.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that he might be dead.
And then they're like, he's not moving, but we gotta go. There's a car coming, so we're just gonna have to assume he's dead.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he did throw himself off a cliff.
And that car, Jack Allen.
Yeah.
Because they go, and then our final scene of the episode is Jason getting a call, talking to Eugene, communicating the info that they got to go to the hospital because Jack found Maxwell lying on the side of the road at Trickle Lake, and he's in a coma.
Coma's rough.
You know who else was in a coma?
Tell me.
Lucy.
Hey, full circle.
Because of Maxwell.
Wait, why did she get put in a coma because of Maxwell?
The
the
imagination station. I don't know if it was 100% a coma, but like she was hospitalized because of that, and like she was like in serious trauma and whatnot. But yeah,
I would love to be to work in the counseling service of Odyssey. Like if there is a counseling practice, and just be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, they're Christians. They don't believe in that.
No, that's true. No, they believe in biblical.
They believe in counseling, not therapy. That was a bad joke.
No. There is so much.
Oh yeah, we got into this in a different episode.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's great. We love it. No problems.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be the biblical counselor on the wall in Odyssey, and just be like, oh yes, you got thrown down an embankment.
Yeah, guys, hire Andrew for the therapy episode. Genuinely, one of the best episodes of a show that I love and have talked about on this before, Young Justice, is an episode that is like just them going to therapy. And it is incredible. It's so good. Odyssey, you should just straight up steal that idea.
Yep, steal it. And all you have to do is put me on the show and give me royalties. That's all. I'm not asking for much. Like, I'm asking for like 1%, just to say that I made money from Adventures in Odyssey.
Just enough to have it on your taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Just enough so whatever IRS person looks at me and thinks, "Huh, he works for Focus on the Family."
Yeah, I have a feeling that guest stars make day rates and not royalties for Adventures in Odyssey.
I'll take day rates. That's fine. That's fine. But I have to get a Bart Rathbone promote the Wad Fam Chalk Pod bit, though. Do you have anything else to say for the session? Well, yeah, check out the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. Available wherever podcasts are found.
Yep. Oh,
you like my voice here? Imagine me with a friend, and it's better.
Yeah. That is the dream.
That is the dream. That's the dream. To shout out the podcast.
It's the worst dream.
Oh no!
It's a dream that can never be achieved. Is the problem?
It's that kind of thinking that's gonna make it never happen, man.
Sure.
Listen, we've had enough. A year ago, I would be right there with you, but we've had enough interaction with enough important people that there's no reason that.
No, but.
Okay, maybe
have us on a show is to endorse who we are and what we stand for, and because we do not line up.
What if they put us on the official Adventures in Odyssey podcast?
I mean, that would be pretty cool. I still think that's not going to happen. But if anybody from Odyssey is listening,
I would love to.
We are open to anything.
I will. No, I won't bend the world, but. I will drive out to Colorado. There's actually a good chance that I will be in Colorado in the decently near future.
Wow.
I'll wear a mask. It'll be great. We'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Just let me go down the slide. And let me shout out the pod. And I'll do whatever you want.
And give him a free chalk sod.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know.
Even if nothing else, if we ever visit Focus on the Family, we should get a free chalk sod. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. I mean, like,
I don't even know that a chocolate soda would really be that good, but
no,
I feel like I should get a free one.
Yeah, exactly.
My whole brand is based off of it.
Yeah, and like, what if we? I feel like we've done a good thing for Odyssey.
Yeah, we've brought nuance to the conversation, and we are mostly positive.
Yeah. And that's saying
I feel like we don't get enough credit for that.
I am not a mostly positive... Well, that's... Man. I feel like it would be very easy for me to be mostly negative as a person.
Yes. This show, we could definitely choose episodes intentionally so that we would just be taking the show down.
Yeah.
But,
60-something.
Right, but we
would want to cover that really badly, I want to so bad.
I feel like we need Nathan for that one.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that's the one we bring him back on.
Yeah.
During our next break, which is coming up.
That being said, closing thoughts, discussion questions, anything you want to tack on to the end of this bad boy?
I honestly, for as much as we've talked, I don't think we need discussion questions.
No, we don't.
At all. But,
Closing thoughts? Good episode.
Yeah, good episode.
Good sound engineering. Maxwell might be dead. We don't know. I mean, he's definitely in a coma.
We got, spoiler alert to anybody who has ever seen any piece of pop culture. If the character doesn't explicitly die, they're alive.
Yeah.
Nobody, goes into a coma and then doesn't come out of it, unless that is the point of the entire film.
Wait. No, I'm gonna stand behind you 100% on that one.
Okay. All right. I was like, I will fight you on this. This is something I feel like I have consumed enough of entertainment to understand.
I'm gonna support
how a character dies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all we've got for the week. Andrew, are you plugging anything?
Well, I mean, in the works is a episode of the Andrew Sabo podcast with special guest. We've scheduled the time, and we're gonna record, and we're gonna talk about a project that he's been working on.
I think it would be really funny if I bleeped the name out so that they don't know who the episode is with.
Yes.
I think that would be really great. But I think it is going to be a good episode.
Oh yeah,
the Andrew Sabo podcast. But also, we've talked in the past where it's like, oh yeah, there's definitely one coming out, and then it's 2 weeks later. So I'm sure you'll talk more about it when the episode's actually out.
Just letting you know that's in the works. That's everything.
No, hey, I have stuff to plug.
What, you have stuff to plug?
Yeah, I mean, I have another playlist out.
I thought you already plugged that.
No, because it wasn't out last week.
Oh, okay.
So, new playlist. It's called Finally Summer. It's the conclusion to my year-long playlist project. There will be a link in the description. This one is a little bit poppier and more summery than past entries, because, we gotta have something to be positive about, folks.
Yeah.
Ambassador of positivity, Dylan Weaver.
Life is definitely not just a downward spiral.
No, not at all. And on that note, next week, we will be talking about the penultimate episode of Darkness Before Dawn, entitled The Last Resort. So we'll see you guys then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Found. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at wadfamchalkpod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Another Chance was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Sabo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the Wadfam Chalk Pod.